It is so windy today, isn't it? And
Are you a bit worried about the raccoon?
No, because I
Okay.
think it's in a little courtyard. I think that part will be fine. I just wanted to apologize if there's any animal mischief on my side, which will be suitable to what we're talking about today. But the wind seems to send Ted crazy. Does Jam get like
And cats. It kind of sends cats a bit dooloo as well, doesn't
little
it?
children too?
Yeah,
So
they
today
do.
being windy, I foolishly brought Ted in here, and Paul's like, "Just put him out. What are you doing?" But I'm trusting. I'm trusting that he's going to just relax in his little bed. So
Oh,
we'll
same
see.
with Jam. We'll trust Jam.
So are you worried about the raccoon? Maybe I should be worried about it.
She said weather permitting, and I didn't
Oh.
know. It didn't explain what weather do we permit. So I don't know. Dry now. It was raining on my dog walk this morning, but it's dry now.
Yeah. I suppose we should say for the benefit, if we include this in the pod, that we're doing a pottery workshop, and I think it's raku. Is that how you say it? Which is like a decorative technique. So very exciting, but it's outdoors, which will be.
Yeah, and despite it being June, it's like, well, we had that huge heat wave, didn't we, where we couldn't survive because it was so hot, and now we've plunged into February. So, like,
You get it all.
I get it all. You don't know what to wear any day, and I was worried that it was too wet and windy for Raku, but we will see. We will see.
I guess, yeah, and they'll just reschedule us if they have to, right? So it's all good.
Also, like, it's a fire, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
it'll be fine, I think.
Yeah.
With absolutely no understanding of the process. I think it'll be fine.
No, but we're going there to learn. They're expert. I'm sure we're in safe hands.
Of course,
right?
of course, of course. It'll be good. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be nice.
Yeah, me too. I think it'll be fun. Well, since we have that to look forward to and time is of the essence, shall we get on with a story today?
Let's go.
All right. Hi, Vicky. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Enjoying the weekend vibes? Ready to chat about a cool lady?
Because it is the weekend, I had banana cake for breakfast. That was quite exciting.
How
enjoyed that a
lovely.
lot.
I bought a box of Alpen, which I haven't done since the 1990s, and I'm enjoying munching my way through it.
And lots of healthy muesli. Well done. Fabulous.
But I have a feeling it's not as healthy as it. I think it puts on the clothes of healthy food, but it is in fact trash, which is why I like it. It's mostly sugar.
Fair dues, I think.
Probably more sugary than banana cake, so you know.
I don't think so. That I did not feel good making the adding the sugar into the banana cake. But there's many.
Yeah, you have to look away.
I was like, I'm sure this is fine.
I mean, how often in a year are you having such things? You just have to enjoy it.
More than I would care to admit. But yeah, it was great. It's tasty, and it's not. I guess it's not from the shop processed, it's homemade, so that I get points for that,
and for not wasting food, because you obviously had some bananas that needed using, so good for you. Right, well, all of our breakfasts having been discussed, shall we get on with chatting about our subject today?
Sounds good.
She is a primatologist, and her name is Biruté Galdikas, and I made a note of how to pronounce her first name and now realize I did not make a note of how to pronounce her surname. So apologies if I have gotten that wrong. But I'm excited about this. I've liked this lady for a while. And in fact, when you said, would I be interested in doing the odd podcast, this is one of the people that I thought of immediately. So
cool.
she's pretty awesome. We are going into the rainforest. We're going to Borneo. We've got jungle, we've got science, we've got pancakes. We'll get there. This lady is a Canadian who said, you know what? I'm just going to go live in a swamp for 50 years and study some of these absolutely mysterious animals that nobody knows anything about. So yeah.
What's a primatologist?
It is a person whose focus is on primates. So she is a really specific.
I could have got there.
Sometimes these things are mysterious, sometimes not so much. That one is straightforward. So she originally trained as an anthropologist. She also became a conservationist through her work. And she, most of all, is remembered as the world's leading authority on orangutans. So
nature's her thing.
Nature is her thing, and she got into a really specific groove and kind of went with it. And she just died this past year. She died in March. She was 79, and she had been the last surviving member of one of the most remarkable trios of women in science history. So we're going to talk first about what she discovered and why it's still relevant to us. Now, sources today, National Geographic were huge for her sort of public profile and her getting her message out there. So there's a lot of stuff from National Geographic, something called the Sierra Club. The Guardian had a great obituary about her. A Canadian science website, because she was in fact Canadian. We also have orangutan.org, which is a foundation that she was involved in. And she wrote a series of books. And the one that I read was called Reflections of Eden. And it's sort of a
beautiful title.
Like a tell all. It's, yeah, she's quite poetic and quite spiritual. So I think that comes through. Right. So to start at the beginning, she was born in Wiesbaden in Germany in 1946, but she wasn't actually German. Her parents were refugees from Lithuania, and they were leaving after the upheaval of the Second World War, and they were making their way to a new start, like so many other Europeans at that time. And they eventually landed in Toronto in Canada, and that's where Biruté grew up. So Toronto in the 1950s is about as far as you can get culturally, geographically, and every way, weather-wise, from an Indonesian rainforest. But she's built different. She's really, really interested in science and nature. There's a little footnote here that said that the first book she's ever recorded as borrowing from her Toronto Public Library was Curious George, which is a book about a monkey.
So, no way.
I guess the signs were there. I mean, that's a public fact that was the first book she borrowed. So there you go. It set her on the path. And she, apparently as a child, she would slip off into the woods near her home and pretend to be a native and try to like make these dens and live this harmonious life in her little suburban, woodland that she had in her neighborhood. And it says in her sort of obituaries that even when she was really little, she was interested in these big questions about people as well, about, where did the human race come from, and how are we different from the animal kingdom? What separates us, and what unites us with these animals that we are descended from? So she did the usual schooling, and then she went and studied at the University of British Columbia, and then she did further education at UCLA, where she got her BA in psychology and zoology, and then a master's in anthropology. So very kind of like animal-human melding of those two worlds.
I imagine when you're studying zoology and psychology, there's not loads of people being like, you're going to have a great career. There's going to be so many jobs available for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she knew. She just knew. She had that internal compass. And I think that is a common thread with a lot of the ladies we talk about, that they're quite focused, and that intensity of focus allows them to achieve remarkable things.
Yeah, a huge theme in our stories. Yeah.
And another theme that emerges time and time again is right place, right time. So she's at UCLA, and at that time, one of the most famous scientists in the world, his actual title being paleoanthropologist, Louis Leakey, is still a baller. He is working at UCLA as a professor, and she marches up and says, I want to study orangutans in the wild. And if you recognize the name Louis Leakey, it's because he and his wife Mary are key players in the fossil record of the human race. So they studied these original human skeletal remains from Africa. He was an absolute titan of that field.
Wow.
And he had a theory that the key to understanding human evolution wasn't just in those fossils. It was also in looking at our living great ape relatives as closely as possible. So
yeah, which is a huge jump, isn't it? If you're saying you're the person in this field leading this field, you really need to get people on board with that as an idea. don't you?
Yeah, I mean, he did the legwork. To be fair,
Uh-huh.
he published, he presented his evidence, and I say he and his wife Mary were incredibly hardworking and drawing those connections between the great apes and humans, which, in the 1950s wasn't necessarily as kind of standardly accepted as perhaps it is today. Part of the work that he did to sort of draw the foundations for that was to send two remarkable scientists out into the field to do those observations. Jane Goodall was one of his students. And of course, she went to study the chimpanzees in Tanzania. He also was a mentor to Diane Fossey, who did similar work with mountain gorillas in Rwanda. So now here comes Barute, and she's asking to complete the set. She wants to go to Borneo and study the third of the great apes, which is the orangutan. And
So they're like his
obviously,
Charlie's Angels of monkeys.
literally, that
Yeah.
is one of the nicknames they had, that they were
Oh,
sort
there
of
you go.
the Leakey's Angels was one of the things that they were known
Ah.
as. So yeah, he's obviously going to say yes. He helped her to get. Oh my goodness, did you hear
Bless
that?
you,
Bless
Pauline.
you, Paul. Oh dear, you can't
Is
you
he
can't help a
okay?
sneeze. Yeah, he is okay. He's recovering now.
Bless him.
So yes, Leakey helped Rute to find her funding. And then in 1971, she and her then husband, who's a photographer, went off to the Tanjung Puting Reserve in Indonesian Borneo. She is 25 years old.
Mhm.
25 years old. She's never spent extended time in any kind of jungle.
It's quite a gamble.
I mean, what a thing to do. What
Mm.
confidence to do it. She'd observed orangutans in captivity in her city zoo in Los Angeles. The reserve she went to was not connected to any kind of civilization. It was remote, obviously. The conditions were brutal. And at this point, almost nothing is known about wild orangutans. And she was going to be tested by this setting. And yet, despite all of the tests, the physical, the emotional, she would stay there for most of her life.
Cool.
So, yeah, I guess the first thing maybe to address then is why orangutans in specific. So, Barute's interest is part of what makes it super lovely and just charms me so much. She had been taught in school, obviously, that our species was an offset of the great apes, but what struck her was a real sense that that was true, because when she looked at their eyes, she felt a real kinship. And I guess physically, apparently most animals don't have visible whites around their eyes, around their irises,
Yeah.
but orangutans do, like humans. And I think there was more to it. So there's a quote here that says how she puts it.
Looking into the calm, unblinking eyes of an orangutan, we see, as through a series of mirrors, not only the image of our own creation, but also a reflection of our own souls and an Eden that was once ours.
I mean, she is quite poetic.
Yeah, that's a skill in itself, isn't it? When Jam looks up and you can see the white of his eyes, I do think that's adorable.
It does something to us, doesn't it? And I mean, yeah, like there's another quote here from her on the same topic. And I think that there's a photo that I've put in from her foundation's website that it just, if you're happy to read one more on the same subject.
It was the eyes that brought me to the orangutans. When those red hair apes look at you, it's like they're looking straight through into your very soul.
And I get it.
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree.
babies have that same absolute candor when they look you in the eye. And weirdly, primates and orangutans especially do have that same feeling. You just feel it when they look at you. They're really looking at you.
And you can see them trying to work you out as well.
That's
like, it's
it.
not just their eyes, that you can see their brain clicking.
They're thinking.
Yeah,
exactly. So they are quite human-ish already.
Yeah.
And in fact, that the word for orangutan in the Malay and Indonesian language means person of the forest. So
Oh, I didn't
she's,
know that. That's
yeah,
nice.
I think it fits though. You kind of get it. And she she gets it. She's not just coldly researching the subject. She
Yeah.
really respected and loved this this subject. So yeah, then she's all the way in Borneo, and
Okay.
it's not Canada. It's not even LA, which ugh. But yes, swamp. I want you to picture yourself 25 years old, having lived in, comfortable suburban settings and cities. Now you are in a swamp that's waist deep, milky coffee
Mhm.
colored, leeches, Vicky,
Yeah.
leeches. She writes in her article about getting undressed at the end of a day of work, and leeches are falling out of her socks, dropping off her neck,
No, thank you.
coming out of her underwear. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh,
we
they
don't
just
need
get
this.
everywhere, don't they?
It's rank. It's
Brilliant.
disgusting.
Ugh.
She's the camp itself, camp, is this tiny bark walled hut with a thatched roof with swamp forest encroaching in on all sides. And she named it Camp Leaky in honor of her mentor. But I think also leaky in the other sense as well, I could imagine. And so she's out there, she's struggling and suffering. And where are the orangutans? No orangutans. They're nowhere.
Oh, oh no. Were they meant
Or
to be there? They were meant to be there.
more correctly, they are there. In
Oh,
fact, they're everywhere, but they're incredibly shy and elusive. No one knows where they go, what they do, or what the reasons that they do it.
can you imagine? Oh, mate, can you imagine? You got leeches in your underwear. Are you the
Oh God, you
thing
can
you're
find the
there
leeches.
for?
The leeches are
Yeah.
finding you, but the thing you're there for is like, nah. So she thought, okay, what am I going to do about this? And every morning she got up super, super early and she started watching. And it's dense forest, so there's very little that you can see. And then realizing that her eyes are not really helping her here, she started listening and she would hear snapping of branches. The most prevalent sound she would hear was fruit dropping. So if they're comfortable and they're eating, they're yum, 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 and then they just drop the pit of the fruit, that's a telltale sign.
Okay.
And eventually,
They're up in the trees.
they're up high. They're
Yeah.
up high. And she eventually starts finding them using this method. And then once she found one, she would just at a distance follow it all day, figure out where it was going to make its nest for the night, because they don't have dens. They build a nest each night. And she would come back before sunrise to find it again when it woke up. So she's now in this rhythm.
Nice. She's tired, I bet. Sounds
I
exhausting.
bet she
Yeah.
is, but she's young too. So, a little
Okay.
bit more like able to cope. Over 4 years, she and Rod, the photographer husband, spent more than 5,000 hours, recorded hours, observing these wild orangutans.
Okay.
It is
And how are they eating this stuff?
incredible.
Is she in like survival mode as well?
They have supplies brought to them at the camp. They have a base camp. They have helpers who have been employed with the funding that
Right.
Leakey has secured. So they do have a support team, but she herself is so fixed and dedicated. Like to spend 5,000 hours across
It's a long
4 years, it's a long working day, right?
Yeah.
So it's a really good question. And it pays off. This investment that she's putting in does pay off, because before Barute arrived to do this research, what was known about orangutans was basically butt kiss. They're solitary, they're arboreal. Okay, they're mysterious. That's kind of, you look it up in the dictionary, that's what you're getting. They're red, they're solitary, they live in a tree, and they're mysterious.
I didn't know they made nests each night. That's quite cool.
No, this is the kind of
Yeah.
thing that her work reveals. So
Oh.
she's finding that there's more to them than we thought. If you actually watch and follow things like them nesting, adult males are solitary. Some of them go months at a time without meeting another, but the females had social lives. The young orangutans had friendships that would last years. So,
Mhm.
and the other observation that she made, which was groundbreaking, literally, is that they spend a lot more time on the ground than anyone thought. They're just really sneaky, so no one saw them do it. But they're coming down from the trees. They're eating over 400 different types of food, a lot of them that they have to forage from the ground level. She also said that they had huge long intervals between the births of their young, much longer, well, the longest of any mammal, 7.5 years, give or take. And that was because their environment is so dangerous. So it took a really long time for the mama to teach the baby the survival skills it would need. So all of these behaviors had never been recorded before.
And this is 1970s, yeah?
Yeah, mid 70s by this point.
Yeah, so if anything, it's worse now, isn't it, with the deforestation and
Exactly so, that it is more dangerous than ever, and they won't, as a species, have adapted that quickly because we don't. This is not available to us. But at the time, it was dangerous too, and the forest authority in Indonesia saw what she was doing and asked her to do something extra. So, on top of the research piece, they wanted her to run an orangutan rehabilitation center. So they knew that there were these orangutans that had either been displaced because of deforestation or, oh God, taken in as pets by people who thought, oh, they're so cute. And then they become this like 200-pound, super strong,
scary
wild animal.
Yeah.
And they, then the people don't want them anymore. So this is where things get a little chaotic because Barute and Rod ended up not just studying the orangutans from a respectful distance, but actually living with orphaned or confiscated baby orangutans who needed to be reintroduced into the wild. And it turns out baby orangutans are absolute chaos. They are like a super strong toddler with no respect for personal space, anything, no rules, nothing.
They're babies.
They are babies, but they're really smart and strong babies that have no concept. So Barute wrote about one of her little...
her in this chaotic orangutan, like daycare. Oh my God.
Living in this little hut. And then trying to do her day job on top of it. So she's got this little baby orangutan girl called Kempaka, who had been raised with a human couple. They had been one of these people who thought, oh, she'll be a great pet. So she needed to be reintroduced into the wild and taught the skills that would let her be an orangutan again. But in the meantime, part of Barute's National Geographic piece talks about the reality of day-to-day life of little Kempaka. There's a quote there.
Kempaka's best performances were her attempts at cooking. She would scoop handfuls of sugar and flour into a glass. Then she would go and find where the eggs were hidden, break one into the glass, stir vigorously. It was very similar to the procedure Maria, our workman's wife, followed when making pancakes. Oh, so she's trying to copy pancake making. Oh,
that's it. They're trying to give her orangutan skills, and she's just getting all the skills. She's going to make pancakes. There was another little baby called Sugito who she said had worked out how to use forks and spoons like cutlery. Nobody taught him this, like no one taught Kempaka the pancakes. They just watch and learn.
They're just smart. They're really
so
clever.
good. And they're curious. So they also, in the camp, they got into the people's beds with them. They took apart the hut walls. They liked to put batteries in their mouths because of the...
bloody hell, guys.
So they would be like taking apart flashlights and, hiding the batteries under their tongues. They drank shampoo.
So stressful, Cara.
Absolute chaos. At one point, they had 4 baby orangutans, and they would get in the bed with Barute and Rod and just crowd them off of it. Like, one human child is able to starfish across an entire mattress. I can't even imagine 4 orangutan babies. But you've got to love it. It's so adorable and charming. This kind of world-class scientist out there, doing this hard, important work, and yet at every moment she's running this chaos, absolutely chaotic ape daycare, and not even getting a good night's sleep because,
I would be so grumpy. This is not my jam at all.
I have to say, in her book, there's a lot of chat about diapers and not wanting to humanize the orangutans more and the whole reality of living with it is. She sounded knackered, she sounded fed up, but she also recognized that she was trying to do, something good.
Yes.
So what are you going to do, right? As well as doing all of this, by the way, she's writing about it all. She's
Yeah,
writing these
thank God.
firsthand accounts. She's writing these
Yeah.
books. National Geographic picked it up, made it their cover, and it was a huge sensation in the United States, and that was in the mid 70s. People who'd never really thought about orangutans at all were suddenly like so hungry for more information about them, so interested in them. And she did a follow-on article then in the early 80s and really made these creatures matter to people. They were being shown with their personalities, their intelligence, their families, but also talking about the conservation piece, that they were in trouble. So before we kind of like get into the last section about that, if we take a minute to talk about the Leakey's angels, these women who are out there doing this work. So you've got Jane Goodall, Diane Fossey, and Barute herself, all working with the mentorship and connections and support from Louis Leakey, dispatched to these different corners of the world. The nickname that I like best, obviously they were known as the Leakey's Angels, but they also were called the trimates, which is so cute, like primates. Oh,
yes,
love a pun.
Yes,
love a pun. There is
this
gorgeous photo of the three of them together. They
so
had this
70s,
common. It's so good, isn't it? Isn't it so good? They had this massive passion that united them for the great apes, and this shared approach of immersion and patience and a willingness to see these animals as individuals. They also faced similar criticisms. Scientists at the time, and especially now, felt they were far too close to their subjects. They were too emotionally invested, and that they anthropomorphized.
How about you go out there and live with the leeches and run a daycare? Go on, mate.
This is it. I mean, the methods they used probably, and particularly the sort of rehabilitation piece and how closely they integrated, are not in favor now. The field has evolved, the work has evolved,
but they weren't asked to do that. It wasn't like, I'm going to go and run an ape daycare, was it? It was like, oh, I'm doing this really important research. Oh, you want me to do this as well? All right then. Like, very...
That's exactly the right sort of framing. There's a quote here from Dr. Gillian Foster from the University of Sussex that I really liked.
Those women worked in an age of discovery. Now we're moving into an age of responsibility. Yes, Gillian Foster.
Exactly so. Yes. They were the people who did it first. They built the foundations, and what we do with the knowledge that they got through doing it, trying things and seeing what worked and seeing what was helpful and seeing what wasn't so helpful, the responsibility to take that forward is on us now. It's on scientists now. What they did was the best they could with what they had at the time. And that,
and it's also,
all
it's
respect.
Not trying to think of like, it's not unethical, I don't think, what they're doing. Like, it doesn't feel unethical. The fact that she was so cautious when tracking them and, there's so many ways that could have been done like that.
It's complex. And at the end of the day, I guess there are conversations to be had about the rights and wrongs of the approaches they used at the time, but those conversations are only possible because they used those approaches at the time. And, they weren't being unethical. As you said, they weren't like putting them in little hats and making them drink PG tips.
And smoke cigarettes.
Exactly. They were trying to respectfully integrate so that they could study. They were trying to get the knowledge that we now have that has allowed us to go, oh, actually, having them sleep in a bed with a human is not helpful. But they also didn't take these animals into the situations in the first place that made them candidates for fostering. So, you just have to give it a little grace. Ultimately, Biruté, much like Diane Fossey and Jane Goodall, really moved into this mode of conservation. She co-founded Orangutan Foundation International in the 80s, and that's still active today. They go out into local communities. They advocate for rainforest protection. They have released over 500 orangutans back into the wild using the more modern
Yeah.
methods for
So she is
rehabilitation.
doing all this big picture, future thinking, all the stuff that the
Absolutely.
criticism was. She has a sharp focus on that. So,
Exactly so.
yes,
Building something from what she's learned. And
legacy. Yeah.
legacy. Yes, I love it. So she figured at the entirety of her career, Barute calculated that she'd spent about 100,000 hours observing orangutans, which
But you only need
un-
10,000, don't you, to master
she's
anything, right?
she's like 10 times the master then.
Yeah.
She's smashed it. Apparently, if you spent 8 hours a day, every single day, it would take you over 34 years to clock that much time. Don't
Yeah, that's
don't
my
don't
lifetime.
at me if I've got the
Yeah.
math wrong, but that's my ready reckoner.
Yeah.
So she was recognized for the work she did. She had a Tyler Prize for Environmental Achievement, which is sort of the environmental equivalent of a Nobel. She was made an Officer of the Order of Canada, so a national recognition of her
Very
skills.
cool.
She was given a professorship at Simon Fraser University, and she published. She published prolifically all of these books. But throughout
That's
it all,
nice.
she kept going back to Borneo. It was her home. So yeah, this is the hard part of the thing, because the threat that she recognized is not theoretical and it's not finished. It's still happening now. You hit the nail on the head. The main danger is deforestation, specifically with palm oil plantations expanding, which
Yes.
we all know it's in everything, isn't it?
We
We
just can't
love
seem to avoid it, can we? It's a funny
it's
one.
it's a convenience product. It's in everything, and it can
Everything.
it's
Yeah.
in everything: shampoo, toothpaste, biscuits, makeup. It's just
It's
everywhere.
ridiculous. Yeah.
So given that between 1 and 5,000 orangutans are killed every year because of the palm oil situation,
Okay.
it's super important that we start thinking about how we can do this better.
This is what I was saying with the banana cake. Like, one of the reasons I was trying to do stuff like that is because the biscuits and stuff from the shop isn't as nice anymore, I was thinking. And I think one of the reasons it's not as nice is because it's full of stuff like palm oil.
That makes it longer shelf life or cheaper to produce, or whatever the reasons commercially it is used.
And I'm very lucky that I have the time and the resources to do that. But when you've got 5 kids and they all need a packed lunch and whatever, like, you do reach for convenience, which is what you were saying, isn't it?
And
like,
that is why it is incumbent upon the producers to source these things ethically and sustainably.
Yeah,
and,
they're the producers. Yeah.
It comes back to the big picture decisions, because yes, okay, but yeah, we'll get there. This little quote from Barute, well, it's not so little, this quote from Barute kind of talks about why this matters, if you need convincing.
The reason why people here should care about orangutans, about tropical rainforests, is that the tropical rainforests are in some ways the lungs of the world. Orangutans are one of our closest living relatives in the animal kingdom. We are very, very closely related to them, and I think it would be an enormous pity in terms of biodiversity, in terms of our understanding about our own evolutionary history, if orangutans and tropical rainforests disappeared from the face of the earth.
So she's putting out an appeal. She's not just being an alarmist. She's saying, even if you do not care, you're never going to go to a rainforest. You do not care about the people who live there. You do not care about orangutans. Think about what it means to us as a species as well. Hopefully people don't need that level of persuasion, but there it is.
They do, don't they? Because money talks louder.
Yes, I suppose that is the case. So, yeah. So Barute did die this year in March.
I forgot that.
Yeah, she was the last surviving trimate. She was 79.
Yes, because Jane Goodall died recently as well, didn't she? She's the only one of the trimates I knew of. I didn't realise there was a triple threat behind her.
Yeah,
Very
triple
cool.
threat, going out there doing all the great ape observations. So yeah, it's that passion and that curiosity is kind of what I want to draw it to an end on. That the little girl in Toronto who kind of started with that question about where we came from and saw those beautiful orangutan eyes, and then went off to this remote place and stayed there from age 25 to, nearly 5 decades of her life sleeping in a bed with 4 little orangutan babies and cataloging their behavior for thousands of hours and writing about it in a way that made millions of people care. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you talk about legacy, and that is it. And the way that I think we're best to honor her is to keep the pressure up, to buy those products that have better ingredients, to make what we can, to look for the sustainable things. If you cannot afford those products, if you do not have the time to even consider it, your life is full. Other people who do have the time and the money can be doing that work. We can all be doing what we can to leverage pressure on these companies. If you can support Orangutan Foundation International. But the most important thing that she wanted everyone to do was to stay curious about the natural world, because wonder is the beginning of care, which I think is a beautiful way to put
Oh,
it.
well, that's adorable. I love this whole thing about sharing as well. Like she just wanted to share what she found, and she just wanted to share that this is what they do and this is what's going on. And I think
Absolutely.
that's so powerful, isn't it? Just telling other people about things that they, because who goes to Borneo? No
Nobody
one
gets to
goes.
do that. Nobody. Also, not a lot of people have got the kind of like wherewithal to put up with the leeches and the swamps and the,
Yeah. So to do that and come
terrifying
back and tell
flights.
us, yeah, it's
It's
pretty
like
cool.
our foreign correspondent type vibes. I think I also don't know if this is me applying a late stage capitalism viewpoint to it, but there's a lot of funding to be picked up and a lot of ground to be gained in terms of scientific and political pressure. If you can persuade, the likes of me, some, you know, just average person sitting in their living room reading National Geographic, this is a thing that you should be interested in and care about. And I see
Yeah.
those photos of these beautiful creatures and go, damn, yeah, I'm not happy that that's their suffering. I want something to change about it. And maybe I'll chuck a few quid into the bucket, or maybe I'll email Kraft and say, why are you using, not that I know that Kraft does this, but
They
companies,
do.
why are you using these crappy ingredients and hurting
Yeah.
this ecosystem? So yeah, like she's probably more shrewd. She sounds very hippy dippy. I love these creatures. Aren't they beautiful? It's another Eden. Yes, but also I think part of her brain is going, how do I get people on side so the bullshit part stops?
Which is the her
Respect it.
writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. So, exactly.
Yeah. Which is very clever because it's a very slow burner
Yeah.
tactic, isn't it? Um, but and also I was just thinking that it kind of give a little bit like David Attenborough. I always think that people like this are such a beacon of hope because when you start looking into palm oil and you realize it isn't everything and you realize you can't avoid it even if you wanted to, and it's like plastic. It's like if you go to a supermarket, everything's in plastic, isn't it?
Mm.
And it's so hard to make changes in that way. And if you think about it too much, you just, well, if you're of my disposition where you deal with anxiety and depression, you just spiral. You're just like, oh
It's
my God, it's so
overwhelming.
overwhelming.
It's
Yeah.
overwhelming. And I think that's the constant challenge in living in a world that is kind of sad, and
Yeah.
there's a lot that's troubling, is to kind of do what you can without letting it drag you down. It's so hard. And she's one of those people like Attenborough who goes out and goes, no, this could be okay. We could do something different.
Yeah. Here's what we've
We need
learned.
people like that to go,
Yeah.
this could be okay if we do something else.
They're very special
Yeah,
people in the world
they
and we need
are.
them and we need more of them. And yes,
And who
love.
knows what the next little child looking at a photo or reading about a creature and going off into the world to
And
research
the more
them.
we discover, right, the more we can do. Surely.
That's it.
Surely that's the,
Curiosity is the beginning
yeah.
of care. That's love
Just
it.
like Curious George. Oh, it's
Yeah.
full circle. Oh my God.
Exactly.
Love,
Right.
love.
So that is our story for today. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for listening. I love her. I think she's wonderful.
Thank you so much for sharing. I loved it.
My
We'll
pleasure.
catch you next time.
Catch you next time.